I can't resist reading Grandma's Latkes. I'm not Jewish, but we ate latke cakes, potato pancakes, growing up as a child. And the running joke is that my sister ate, oh, I don't know, like 10 or more in one sitting, which for, a little kid was a lot. But if you've never had them, you need to try them because they are delicious. Grandma's Latke by MalkaDrucker, illustrated by Chwast. What are these flowers on these end pages? And it is published by Harcourt Brace Publishers. No matter how she tried, Molly could never beat Grandma at grating potatoes. One potato after another flew from Grandma's hands into the mountain of slippery white slivers. How did you learn to make latkes? Molly asked. She rested her tired arms, but didn't complain. She was finally old enough to be picked as Grandma's helper. They had lots of latkes to make for the Hanukkah party. And what are they doing? Are those the flowers she brought? Using a grater. From my grandmother. Before Hanukkah, she would save her pennies. She was very poor, to buy potatoes, eggs, onions, and oil. All of us, you remember. I have 5 brothers and sisters. Would be in the kitchen when she fried the latkes. Look at my recipe. It's in her handwriting. She used 3 potatoes, but we'll use 6 because we have so many people. We used to help my mother make them because there were so many of us. Grandma put the potatoes in a bowl and took out eggs, oil, onions, salt, and pepper. Why do we eat latkes during Hanukkah? Is it because Jews ate them a long time ago? Molly asked. No, it's because it reminds us of the oil. Take out the oil, Molly, while we're talking. As Molly went to the pantry, Grandma began to grate the onions. Tears rolled down her cheeks. It's just the onions, she told Molly, smiling. Molly said, How do you know how many onions to use? Well, look, my grandma wrote, Use 1 onion for 3 potatoes. Do you know the story of Hanukkah? Not really. Well, why don't you break the eggs in the bowl and I will tell you. A long time ago, Jews did eat potatoes, but they also ate lots of other vegetables and fruits because they were farmers in Israel. They lived plain, simple lives, and they were happy raising families and celebrating holidays. But they didn't have Hanukkah yet? That's right. The trouble began with Antiochus. The Syrian king became ruler of Israel and demanded that everyone pray to the Greek gods. No other religion was allowed. That would be like having everyone having to celebrate Christmas, Molly said. No more Hanukkah and latkes. I don't think I like Antiochus. She broke the first egg into the bowl. Many people didn't, Grandma answered. I apologize for not saying that name right. I'm sure I'm not saying it right. Uh-oh, Grandma. Part of the eggshell fell into the eggs. I can't get it out. It keeps jumping away. Molly's fingers dripped with sticky egg whites. No matter how she tried, she couldn't get hold of the shell. Watch this, Grandma said. She dipped another piece of the eggshell into the bowl, and out came the piece Molly had dropped. Let Let me try that, said Molly. And Grandma threw in another shell. Like Grandma, Molly easily fished out an eggshell with the piece in her hand. I like that trick, and that really is true. You can really do that. Good, Grandma smiled. Now mix potatoes, onions, and eggs together. Molly. Grandma poured oil into the big frying pan and turned on the stove. So did the Jewish people get mad at Antiochus? Molly continued. Yes. Eventually, one day, Antiochus sent a soldier to Matthias, a wise man who lived near Jerusalem. The soldier said, Antiochus will make you rich and powerful if you help him. Just kill this pig and eat a little of it. Then all the Jews will follow your example. You know, Molly, in those days, no Jews ate meat from a pig. When Matthias screamed at the soldier, Go away! Don't tell me what to eat or who to believe in. Suddenly, a grubby little man who had been listening stepped forward. I'll eat the meat, he whispered. This made Matthias very angry. He couldn't understand how someone would throw away his religion so easily, so he killed both the man and the soldier and shouted, All who believe in God, follow me. Molly stopped stirring the mixture and stared at Grandma. So did they, she asked. Well, some did, Grandma answered. She sprinkled some salt and pepper into the bowl and said, Now we're ready to fry the latkes. First, we will take a tablespoon of mixture and drop the spoonful into the hot, bubbly oil. Grandma made 8 circles in the frying pan. They sizzled and turned brown. Molly's mouth began to water. Grandma picked her up and watched the latkes fry. Don't put your face too close, Grandmother would say. Stand back. The oil jumps out. You'll get burned. But we wouldn't go far because we can't wait to eat her crispy latkes, hot latkes. When the oil had stopped spinning, Grandma went on with her story. Matthias had 5 sons. The oldest was Judah Maccabee. Judah and his brothers led a small army against Antiochus and his huge army of thousands of soldiers. And guess what, Molly? A miracle happened. The Maccabees won. How could the Maccabees win? Molly asked. Well, no one knows for sure how miracles happen. It's a mystery, but Judah Maccabee knew his little country very well and surprised Antiochus by hiding in the hills, and they knew they had to win. If they didn't, the Jewish people would be destroyed, but mostly they felt like they had the Spirit of God in them, and it gave them strength. The Maccabees turned their big, beautiful temple in Jerusalem ready to celebrate. Instead, they cried. The temple was filthy. Blood, dirt, and ashes covered everything. All the books, Torahs, and candlesticks were gone. Worst of all, Judah tried to light the menorah. When Judah tried to light the menorah, there was only a drop of oil. There was only enough for maybe one day. But when the oil was poured into the lamp, it burned a second day and a third. It burned for 8 days. How could that happen? Asked Molly. It's another miracle, just like the Maccabees beating Antiochus. And like you, Molly, you're a miracle. Grandma wrapped the latke in paper towel and handed it to Molly. Molly bit into it with a crisp pancake and sighed with pleasure. Grandma brought a big plate covered with paper towel over to the frying pan. So that's why in Hanukkah we fry latkes in lots of oil and eat them. You bet. Help me put the latkes on the plate. She lifted them out of the pan with a spatula and drained them on a paper towel. When they were finally ready, Molly and her grandmother carried in a heavy platter of golden pancakes to the rest of the family who were waiting for them. Delicious, Grandpa said as he smeared sour cream over the latke. Molly's mother said, I heard you and Grandma talking the whole time you were cooking. What was going on? Molly answered, I learned lots of things, cooking secrets. Like what? How to fish an eggshell out of a bowl of eggs, Molly said. The next time we cook, I'll show you. Good. What else did you learn? Asked Mother. Molly swallowed a bit of applesauce and latke and said, I learned a lot about Judah Maccabee and Antiochus, even though Antiochus was much stronger, and how a tiny drop of oil lasted for 8 days. Those were miracles, and Hanukkah is about miracles. She thought for a moment, Grandma, do we light candles for 8 nights because the light lasted 8 days? Grandma laughed and said, Exactly. How did you know enough to teach your own? Now you know enough to teach your own grandchildren. And she gave Molly a kiss. And that's the end. And here is Grandma's recipe. So you can make your own latkes. Enjoy.